Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. If you've been following the politics of this country very closely, then you should have noted that towards the end of January, around 20th, 21st, 22nd there, Kenyan Kega and Sabina Chege led a group of Jubilee elected leaders, MPs, from the mountain to a meeting with Rigathi Gachagua at his office in Nairobi. Then after that meeting, again, a few days later, Kenyan Kega and Sabina Chege led the same group to a meeting with William Samoei Arap Ruto at State House in Nairobi. I remember when they first met with Rigathi Gachagua, I opined that Rigathi Gachagua was actually trying to consolidate the mountain and that he was keen on taking charge of the mountain. So when this group met with William Ruto, it was clear what their objectives were. And William Ruto was basically now taking the war to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's doorstep. And of course, by doing that, he was trying to force Uhuru Kenyatta to early retirement. But all this drama didn't end there. Weeks later, the two, Kenyan Kega, Sabina Chege, led now another team, which is now bigger, 30 members of parliament from across the country, elected on Jubilee ticket to a meeting with William Samoei Arap Ruto at State House in Nairobi. They made several resolutions. One of them was that they were leaving Azimio and that they were going to support the government of President William Samoei Arap Ruto. It didn't end there, which means these guys had a clear plan on what they wanted to do and what they wanted to achieve. They went to Nakuru and convened Jubilee National Executive Committee meeting. And during that meeting, they kicked out Jeremiah Kioni as the Secretary General and anybody who is associated with Uhuru Kenyatta. Up to this stage, what I know is that court at least gave Jeremiah Kioni some breathing space. But because William Ruto is in government, still you can't rule out. But the truth of the matter is that William Ruto really wanted to achieve some objectives. And today, Sabina Chege had an interview at Inooro TV. I got interested in that particular interview. But as you know, I don't understand Kikuyus. Because that interview was so significant for me for several reasons. Number one of them is that Sabina Chege used to be a very close associate of Uhuru Kenyatta. At some point, her name was even fronted as a potential running mate to Raila Odinga. She was actually sitting at one of the highest level of Azimio campaign strategy meetings. Number two, Sabina Chege was part of this group, and therefore whatever she was going to say was going to be of interest to the nation. So I tried following all these things as they unfolded via Twitter, via Facebook, and of course the newspapers covered it so well. So in this video, I want us to look at Sabina Chege's interview, the takeaways from Sabina Chege's interview at Inooro TV today. Before we do that, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is now. Let us now get to the main issues. Sabina Chege was at Inooro TV. And clearly, Sabina Chege was emotional. At some point, she almost broke down. And you could tell the pain behind Sabina Chege as she was attacking Uhuru and Raila. I picked some of this from Sabina Chege's statement. Number one, Sabina Chege is accusing Uhuru Kenyatta of not being in touch with Jubilee members after leaving office. It's not the first time Uhuru Kenyatta is being accused of this. So the question is, Uhuru Kenyatta retired. Jubilee Party was still there. What did Sabina Chege expect Uhuru Kenyatta to do? But the issue of keeping in touch. I think Uhuru Kenyatta has that weakness. So for Sabina Chege, you can tell that she left because Uhuru Kenyatta was not keeping in touch. Probably they were calling Uhuru Kenyatta, he was not taking calls. There are also, Sabina Chege also indicated that they sought for Uhuru Kenyatta severally for his guidance, but in vain. Basically, Uhuru Kenyatta was not accessible. On this, probably also agree with Sabina Chege, because I've been wondering how Uhuru Kenyatta would let people like Sabina Chege just to live like that without his knowledge. The truth is, if you go back to history, there was a time Moses Kuria, who was member of parliament for Uhuru Kenyatta, was asking Kenyans this simple question, that I am the member of parliament for Gatundu South, representing Uhuru Kenyatta in parliament. Uhuru Kenyatta is my president. We come from the same constituency, but I can't reach him. What about any other person? Do you think those people are able to reach Uhuru Kenyatta? So basically, there's this story that Uhuru Kenyatta is not accessible and that these guys were unable to reach him. And that one I can't really deny, because really, if you look at the way Uhuru managed Jubilee, there's some questions there. Sabina Chege is also accusing Uhuru Kenyatta of failing to issue orders to Jubilee members on how to deal with the anti-Ruto rallies, that is the current rallies. I think Jubilee never met to discuss this, because Sabina Chege is saying, like, for her and the group, they just used to see Kanini Kega outside there. And they thought that Kanini Kega was probably just trying to create some image for himself. I don't know, but that's what he's saying. But remember, these Azimio rallies were decided at Azimio. So I want to assume that Azimio had structures where Jubilee was being represented and the rest, but let us not get into that. Then there is something which Sabina Chege also mentioned, which I think motivated her to leave, because I want us to go through all this. Sabina Chege is also saying that William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza offered her the position of the deputy governor of Nairobi. That probably today should be a deputy governor of Nairobi. The truth is, Sabina Chege had created a national image. Probably that's why William Ruto wanted her. But remember, on Azimio, as Ruto was persuading her to be the running mate, on the Azimio side, there was Sabina Chege's possibility of becoming Raila Odinga's running mate. So on this, I tend to disagree with Sabina Chege badly, because otherwise we would be lying. If you are given a running mate to a governor and a running mate to Raila Odinga, at that time Raila Odinga had everything going in his favor. So Sabina Chege looked for another excuse. And Sabina Chege is also accusing Uhuru Kenyatta of failing to mentor them, unlike William Ruto. You know, if you go to William Ruto's side, those who are with Sabina Chege in Jubilee, you can mention them. Ndindi Nyoro is now ripe. Kimani Ichung'wah is now majority leader at the National Assembly. Osoro is the majority whip. You know, you can pick them and mention them. You can pick them here and there, pick them, mention them. On that, probably Uhuru Kenyatta failed, because Uhuru Kenyatta just left Jubilee. Nothing, no direction. And that I agree with Sabina Chege. And the other thing Sabina Chege is saying is that Azimio parties shortchanged Jubilee. That one I'll disagree. It's Jubilee who shortchanged Azimio. Jubilee never delivered the way they ought to have delivered, especially the mountain. But despite that, if you go to the Senate, minority whip, Jubilee. You come to the National Assembly, Sabina Chege had a post. You go to East African Legislative Assembly, ODM gave them their slot. So on that, she can't really blame anybody. They just failed on the numbers. If they had increased their numbers from 30 to probably 50, we'd be speaking a different language at this particular stage. And that is also saying that Gachagua Ruto should stop blaming Uhuru currently because they are in power. So if you look at what Sabina Chege is saying, I think Sabina Chege is not happy on the other side. But there are few conclusions which I want to make based on this particular interview. Sabina Chege is raising questions about Uhuru Kenyatta leadership in Jubilee, that Uhuru Kenyatta failed. Now, let me ask you, what is your own opinion according to you? What do you think is your own opinion? Because there are these people on this particular channel who believes up to now that all this is long con, that there is no way Sabina Chege, Kanini Kega, and the group would have left Kenya Kwanza without Uhuru Kenyatta's approval. But now they are saying that Uhuru Kenyatta is a failed leader. What is your own opinion? And again, number two, based on Sabina Chege's interview, it is also clear that Raila Odinga is still going to be a factor in the mountain. Sabina Chege is generally feeling bad that she lost because of sticking with Raila Odinga. And that in the mountain, for you to succeed, you must be away from Raila Odinga. So I want to believe that Sabina Chege is scheming on how she can make a comeback in 2027. So joining Ruto, becoming a key player there is going to be part of her strategy. Number three, she's also talking of Ruto's schemes against Uhuru, that Ruto keeps on attacking Uhuru Kenyatta. The truth of the matter is that Sabina Chege ought to have known before she left Uhuru Kenyatta that William Ruto had an objective. That objective were two mainly. The first objective, sending Uhuru Kenyatta to retirement. William Ruto can do anything as long as Uhuru Kenyatta can promise him that I'm not going to be in politics. William Ruto's biggest fear right now is that Uhuru Kenyatta is moneyed. He's still the glue that is holding Azimio. So if he can force him to early retirement, the better. So he believed that by having the likes of Sabina Chege to join Kenya Kwanza, then Uhuru Kenyatta will be forced. Then also from this interview, we learn the politics of betrayal. I've always maintained that politics has two constant, the betrayal and interest. So Sabina Chege's interest can no longer be served by Uhuru Kenyatta. So she has to go the other side where her interests are being served. And lastly, I think based on this interview, you can clearly tell that William Ruto is actually scared of Azimio rallies. But Sabina Chege is also regretting making those moves because she was not very clear on the coup which they engineered against Uhuru Kenyatta. She's still recognizing Uhuru Kenyatta as their leader. I don't know what to think. That's my take. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.